Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have a bit of a different video for y'all. My wife and I recently took a trip up to Sedona and I thought I was going to get some cool cinematic shots while I was up there. I got some cool shots, however on my fourth flight of the day, things went a little bit differently. I was flying a brand new 6-inch rig that I built. I had done a couple of test flights, however this was its first real maiden cinematic footage flights. And things, like I said, took a bit of a turn. I have the footage, we're going to react to it together and see how it went. Alright, let's get to it. Alright guys, here's the flight. So, nothing too crazy. We're starting to take off. This is a pretty innocent spot, fairly low risk. As you can see, it's just a nice, cool mountain array right in front of where we were taking off. The only concern there, as you saw, were some power lines, really easy to dodge. I had thought out my whole line throughout this spot, so we're going up. I wanted to travel up this ridgeline. We're going behind it a little bit, so my video is getting a little bit bad. Nothing too concerning. I was predicting this. We're up above that ridgeline. My video is still a bit shaky, but I'm just thinking it's just a little bit of interference with the rock or something. We're pushing on. I'm going into the dive, and then my video just cuts. I'm starting to panic. My video is really bad. I'm not quite sure why. I have clear line of sight of the drone, so I start to punch out. I'm getting frames here and there to keep the drone level. In fact, right there, I'm looking down the valley I just traveled up. If I had just traveled down that valley, I would have saved myself a lot of time. Here, we're struggling. As you can see, my video feed is going in and out like crazy. I'm really struggling just to keep the aircraft in the air. I'm very quickly losing orientation. As you can see, I'm looking around just trying to figure out where I am. Things just are not going well. My video is extremely hairy. There's very obviously a problem wrong with the aircraft. I see what looks like the valley I traveled up, so I start diving that. My battery's starting to get low. I know I'm on a timer. I quickly realize as I'm going down this valley that things just aren't quite looking the same. I think this dirt road here is the same dirt road I was parked by. However, it is not, and I'm starting to panic because I have no idea where I am. I've actually flown to the other side of the mountain at this point, so my video is, what little bit I had is going away quickly. I end up doing a completely blind roll. Not quite sure how I managed to pull that off, but the drone is still in the air. I'm getting very intermittent video frames. Really, not even video, it's just a slideshow at this point. My battery finally eats it. The quad's in a free fall. I think in the OSD you can see the battery's down to 1.4 volts a cell, not nearly enough to keep the quad in the air, and boom, down it goes. So what went wrong, and how could I have avoided this whole situation? Well, what I believe went wrong is that there was a failure with the flight controller of the drone. In previous test flights, I had some issues with the video, specifically the OSD. It was cutting in and out quite a lot. I ended up searching the issue, and people said it was just a setting with the OSD. So I went into beta flight, I changed that setting. It seemed to have fixed the issue, and I called it ready to go. This was the night before the trip. However, I believe that issue wasn't resolved. I believe it was a band-aid fix that pretty much made the issue better for a short period of time. However, there's still obviously an issue. I don't believe the VTX is the problem. I ended up swapping out that VTX with the exact same VTX on another quad. That VTX worked fine on the other quad, and that other quad's VTX that I swapped was also a known good VTX, and that had issues on the 6-inch as well. So obviously it's not just the VTX. I don't believe it's the camera. I've never personally had a camera fail like that before. I know the camera has had some hits. However, I have this camera model on a couple of different other quads that I haven't been particularly nice to, and I haven't had this issue before yet. Now, what could I have done to prevent the situation? Because equipment failure is one thing, but getting put in this exact position is a compilation of many different things going wrong. Many different failure points had to happen for me to get there. First of all, it was lack of preparation. This was a fairly new rig, like I said. I had done a couple of test flights a couple of days before and like the night before we went out. However, It wasn't anything too rigorous. It was just around a soccer field. I really should have pushed the drone a little bit more before I had taken out on a cinematic rig, especially carrying a very expensive action camera. The issues would have been apparent had I done proper testing. There's also the issue of the hardware I have installed on the drone. This drone did not have a beeper installed, and it did not have a GPS installed. A beeper would have been extremely helpful, as that would have just, especially beepers that I prefer to use, they have a separate battery that is completely separate from the flight battery that the quad uses to fly and function, so it can keep beeping for hours even if the original battery died, which this battery did die minutes after the quad hit the ground. There was no finding it with telemetry or video signal at all. GPS obviously would have been extremely helpful, not only for return to home, but also just having GPS coordinates if there was a return to home failure. It would have made finding where the drone went down much easier. A big issue was that when the drone went down, we had heard the general direction that the drone flew in, but I had no idea how far it was or really where it went down. It was either did it go left or did it go right. I heard it on the left, so we went left. Throw a whole bunch of panic on top of that, and it makes a very challenging ordeal in finding the drone. So I didn't have the hardware, I didn't have the preparation, I also didn't have the spot knowledge. Like I said, this was a pretty innocent looking spot, pretty flat ground all around. If my drone did go down while flying the spot, I was pretty confident in my ability to just kind of hike up and grab it. So for me, it seemed very low risk. However, what I should have done was done a practice flight, which A, could have shown some issues with my video feed if there was an issue with that particular spot beforehand, and B, would have helped me learn the spot better. I could have turned around a couple of times, figured out where I was in relation to the spot itself, in relation to the line I wanted to fly, so that way if I did have any issues, I'd have an idea of where to go. In the video, you can see me turn around quite a few times. I was even looking exactly down the valley I traveled up, and I just completely missed it. That could be, attributed to panic. However, if I had done that preparation, I would have had a much better chance of finding my way home or crashing in a spot that was much more accessible. Some other options that I could have had available would have been having a Lewis script to use my ELRS telemetry in order to find the GPS location of the drone. I personally have never used this feature of ELRS before. I'm still quite new to that system. However, I've seen and heard good things about this sort of telemetry usage. In my case scenario, it would have been extremely helpful to have. When the drone went down, I really had almost nothing to work with. I was almost just running into the desert blindly trying to find this drone in a crazed panic because both the drone and the camera were gone, and probably, I was thinking it was the worst day of my droning career so far. So how did we find the drone? From the time the drone went down to the time we found it, it was about 2 hours. Those were a very emotional 2 hours. This was a spot in Arizona that my wife and I have never been to before. And like I said, we really had no idea where the drone went. She wasn't able to see where it went down. I had only really heard where it went. I had pulled my goggles up while it was flying to see if I could find it line of sight from where I was. I wasn't able to find it, and honestly, the drone at that point, even though it's big when it's right next to you, when it's quite far out, it can definitely be a bit harder to spot, especially if you're going from first-person view to third-person view. So the drone went down, panic set in super fast. Honestly, my first thought was, I can't believe it went down. I have always had a big history of just gear anxiety, a little bit of gear fear really. However, I've been working with myself to push past it, and one of the things I've been telling myself, which I think can be good in certain situations, is to just do it. You just gotta rip that band-aid off, and you just have to go for it. And while I think in some situations that's definitely applicable, that doesn't mean going in without preparation. That doesn't mean just saying hoorah and send it, bro, because that's how you lose a drone. So we ended up driving down the dirt road that we were on in the direction that we had heard the drone. We drove way out. Really, we were asking other people that were driving on the road if they had seen or heard a drone. No one had seen or heard anything. My radio, like I said, 5 minutes after the drone went down, finally gave me like telemetry lost after multiple critical signals. My video feed was no hope at all once the drone was on the ground. There was just way too much in the way for it to penetrate through. So at this point, things were looking pretty glum for me. Like I said, I was super emotional, so I wasn't quite thinking straight first. Luckily, I had thought to grab a SD card reader for my phone. So with the DVR footage I recorded from my goggles, we were able to start getting an idea of where the drone went down. One of the biggest things I realized first was that we were way too far away from the mountain. Using some ridge lines that we were able to see in the video, I was able to determine the orientation, or at least the relative position of where the drone was, just by how the ridge line of the mountain lined up to the drone's view, if that makes sense. So using looking just third person at the mountains and then looking at how the drone saw the mountains, we were able to determine that we were way too far out from where the drone had crashed. It actually crashed way further to the mountain than I thought it had. I thought it had drifted much, much further. So going over the footage more, we were able to find a fairly distinct looking intersection or wash intersection of a road. Not really sure what it is. It just kind of looks like a almost a C intercepting the road with some slight hashes on it. Anyways, using my 5-inch drone, I was able to fly up and kind of scout the area for these distinct markings. One of the things that 5-inch was useful for, since it has the same analog camera, I was able to look at the mountains or the ridge and compare how it looked from my 5-inch drone to the footage from my down 6-inch drone, and that was very helpful in determining how much closer the 6-inch was to the mountain where it had crashed. So eventually we were able to find this separate dirt road. That was the dirt road you could see as the drone was going down. When we had found where the C intersects the road, it was simply a game of sweeping the area to find the drone. To be honest, up until this point, my wife and I had pretty much just thought that this drone was gone. We were out looking for it, but really we both thought there was no real chance of finding this thing. It was like finding a hay in the needle stack, as Sandy would say from SpongeBob. But yeah, no, after about 30 minutes, 45 minutes of searching this area, we ended up going over the footage again. At this point, I had looked at the footage so many times, it was almost burned into my brain. But I was thinking maybe there's just something we had missed, something more we could find, and I ended up finding one frame of the drone looking straight down from where it had fallen. Using that, we determined the general like trees that had fallen around, and sure enough, my wife walks up, she finds it almost immediately. Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I had already ran it off. I was pretty devastated, and I just immediately I was overjoyed and almost just astonished at being able to actually find the drone. So yeah, here's my raw reaction. Yeah, keep in mind this is pretty extraordinary, so excuse my language in the reaction, but enjoy.
I found it! You found it? I found it! Holy shit. There's no way you found it.
It's right here.
Holy shit! Let me take a picture. Don't touch it. Oh, babe, you're so fucking amazing. This is why I had you looking at the trees. Oh my god, it's here. Holy shit.
That means we passed by it a couple of times.
Holy shit. I never thought I was gonna see this thing again. Oh my god. You just saved my drone business, baby.
Get that picture and get it out of the fucking tree, bro.
I gotta take pictures, you know? It's gotta be documented. Holy shit. Oh my gosh, babe. Thank you. I thought it was gone.
Careful of the cactus, babe.
I don't even fucking care. Stab me. I'm dreaming.
Oh my goodness, I'm so
gosh.
happy for you.
Oh my gosh. This battery's so fucked. The ND filter is fucked.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's angry.
Oh.
Yes! Oh, honey. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, you don't understand how much this means to me.
I'm really happy we were able to find it. I am. Whew.
Honey, yeah,
I
that
was
was
all
just...
worried.
Thank you, sweetheart. We worked so fucking hard for this.
Yeah, we did.
Oh my god. I can't... Oh my... We actually found it.
Yeah, we did.
All we needed was the powwow.
Right? Yep.